Okay, I think we'll start. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's been a very, very lively FII summit so far, and it doesn't surprise me or anyone that it began with a session about the macroeconomic landscape. Such events always do. But we have experts in energy here on this panel, and I think experts in energy often tell us that there isn't such a thing as just an economy. There's energy systems. And everything that we think of as the economy, our transportation, our communications systems, are all transactions that are facilitated, enabled by energy in some way, shape, or form. And that obviously also applies to our beloved digital world and digital universe, which is, of course, a huge consumer of that energy. So it's appropriate that this session is tackling the question of how one of those critical technological tools, artificial intelligence, can serve the energy system that powers it to make it more sustainable. And that's really how we situate this panel and this discussion in the context of the broader overall FII. And we have three very distinguished guests, panelists, experts to lead this conversation today. Dr. Fahad Al-Sherehy, Vice President for Carbon Management and Energy Efficiency at SABIC. Thank you for hosting us here in the Kingdom.
Thank you.
We have Wenxuan, the Chairman of PCG Power, who's come from China. And in the middle, Girish, Rishi, the Chairman and CEO of Cognite. So we're going to begin the discussion talking a bit about predictive analytics, deep learning algorithms, because these are some of the principal tools that unlock those efficiencies towards a more sustainable energy system. Girish, could you help us to kick things off by expanding on a couple of the specific use cases of AI applications that have been transformative for productivity and sustainability in your operations?
Definitely, Parag, and glad to be here and with this panel. Thank you. We are seeing some killer applications emerge for Gen AI. We are working with Aker BP and as well as Aramco. Celanese, which is now, I believe, the world's largest chemical manufacturer, is also deploying Cognite AI and Gen AI with us. The killer application we are seeing that's emerging is preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance. The lowest hanging fruit we are seeing for Gen AI. Root cause analysis in a predictive manner. Using ChatGPT is another application area we are seeing very popular. Autonomous asset performance management would be another area. While these are core applications, one commonality we are seeing with every customer in energy and beyond in the industrial markets is data exploration. As we all know, industrial data is complex. And the journey for AI begins with simple access to industrial data. And we are seeing every customer wanting to get into data exploration and then build pillars of applications.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Since you mentioned predictive maintenance, I just want to turn very quickly to Dr. Fahad, because this is one of the critical areas that you're looking at. Energy infrastructure has lifespans of decades. That means there's erosion, obviously, of performance over time. And optimization, therefore, becomes ever more important, and it doesn't happen automatically, right? It requires some of these tools. So based on what Girish said about these applications of AI in these areas, how do you see it and how are you using it?
Thank you very much. I think we are living in a world where we have what we call energy trilemma, where it is involving the security, affordability, and sustainability. So you need to manage all these three pillars or dimensions to address the energy. You are dealing with a lot of data, and I can use the terminology DIDO instead of GIBO. I will say diamond in, diamond out.
Right.
Because the availability of data, the quality of the data, consistency of the data is something very important, so you can build all kind of algorithm and also making your decision wiser. We are in SABIC, for instance, started a couple of years, moving from what you call the automation to the digitalization, where we are building infrastructure to make sure that all our transaction, I mean from the plant as well as in the business, how we can bring all this data in a platforms in a secure manner where you can manage your process and optimize and identify opportunity to improve. We can identify some, like for example, what you are mentioning, like predictive maintenance. It's something very important because if you are able to predict what will happen, will help you to reduce the downtime, and if you are reducing the or improving your reliability, this is in turn will help you also in your sustainability, reducing your emission. Same thing applicable to the energy efficiency, where you can optimize your resources. I mean, how you are using your material, how you are using the energy. Again, will help you in two dimensions. One, doing more for less, but at the same time being more sustainable and achieving or attaining to your carbon neutrality ambition.
Collecting all of this data for that exploration process and for developing those efficiencies, that requires a lot of the IoT sensors to be deployed, Internet of Things. So if we can go back to that topic, and Girish, you mentioned that everyone is in that exploration phase, sandboxing and so on, but how deployed is that IoT sensor architecture across industrial applications and firms in order to be able to actually harness it? Or is that the prerequisite that is yet unfulfilled by many clients, customers that you see and across the world?
So the latter, and I agree with Fahad, bringing all the relevant data together. The state of data today is, it is available at a nodal level, at an IoT level. It's not available in a network level.
Right.
So you have an abundance of nodal operational data. You can go to a pump and read the meter. You can have engineering data. The challenge is having a digital twin that brings cross data sources, operations, engineering, PDF documents, 3D diagrams, videos, as well as ERP demand and supply data from SAP contextualized together, the same way we have for our lives available on our mobile devices. That data is hard to create. So to create that data foundation where you pull all those data sources together, but then you drive contextualization around a pump or a state of an operation is not easily doable, and that's what we drive. We deliver that foundation, and then if you apply Gen AI to it, then the journey becomes much easier.
Right. Lee, let's turn to you on this. You are in the energy grid space, where of course we expect that IoT is so critical around some of the issues we've talking about, especially around predictive analytics, maintenance. Tell us about the experience in China with PC Power.
Okay. Let me take to the industrial zoo at the first place. As we say, we are doing the distributed generation side. We are mainly build this, the solar new energy plants on the rooftops of the factories.
Right.
So, in regarding of the IoTs, we must know the productivity of the factory first. So the IoTs must be, devised on the factory in itself. So we will know that electricity, the every year they will spend, and they will peak hour, they will peak season, they're the low season. So we collect all the data so we can understand the demand, and we can provide the supply. So we can also make the supply to the national grid. So we can building this bridge between the factories and the national grid, and also we can play a very important role. So as my opinion, IoT is not only on the the generation side at first, it's also on the factories and also on the the productivities on the lines, so we can know that all the data sends to make all the the electricity as a water to flow as very efficiency.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a bit about the demand side, or rather the supply-demand balance. You've talked about how you can use AI and analytics through sensor networks in the energy system for the growing the role of solar
Yes.
in the energy provision
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
But in terms of the growing demand, are you able to cope with that? And because there are intermittency issues and all of the challenges around load balancing.
Yes.
So you're able to analyze those things, but are you able to actually meet the demand?
Yes, please give us some moments and I will talk a little bit more about it. So let's get back to China. China occupying 24 to 27% of the carbon emission of the world. And also, last 20 years, the photovoltaic supply chain developed very fast in China, and also the national grid. The government put many efforts on the national grid constructions. And then we have this result that the kilowatts per hour of solar lowered to 3 cents in China. So that makes us a great opportunity to build distribute new energy plants in a very fast way. So we built 1 gigawatts in just 1 year, and we will build 2.5 gigawatts the next year, and aiming to double the number the year after. So the number growing very fast. So actually this is the topic. We are making very pressure to the national grid because the electricity that the solar made must be transported to the grid immediately. It cannot be storage. So what we do, we must do the energy storage first. We do the energy storage at the factories first, and this is the first place. And then we are doing this, energy aggregator in a certain distance. We are willing to selling the electricity over the wall. What is over the wall? That's this. Where the consumption rate of our plants is like 50%, 6%. So we still have 40% there. So we can sell these electricities to the factories nearby. So within some distance, but all over the national grid. So this needs to be AI to calculate, adjust it, and the schedules. And this is some small system. And all the small system can make a big system. This is national grid. We are collecting all the data from the small systems, and then we can, it still needs the computility and also the national grid constructions to make it more digital, to collect all the data to make it together. So it is possible, but still on the way because the generation side is growing so fast. So at the national grid side, they still need to see the growth and to predict the demand and to balance the generation side and also the demands together and to balance the loads.
It sounds like it's possible in China, but Girish, going back to one of the points you made, data is collected at these local nodes, and there isn't a meta AI architecture especially for the energy systems and grids that are obviously drawing upon renewable fossil fuel, multiple sources simultaneously. How do you get to that meta level outside of China? To that meta level of AI kind of integration and analytics around an energy system that has many diverse inputs.
Yeah, we are telling all our customers that the journey, every CEO wants to be on the Gen AI roadmap. We are telling them that journey starts with your data strategy. If you get your data strategy right and you do a slam dunk on it, Gen AI is very, very easy. And it's pulling those data sources, identifying use cases. And the use cases are always on the front lines. It's not sitting in some back-end laboratory. So the person doing the maintenance who's looking at a pump where there is an ejector switch leaking, if that mobile worker can query the system and say, I have a pump, a Grandfoss pump, H123, that is leaking, then the Gen AI system captures the operating environment, runs through the work order, and identifies that, hey, maybe a gasket needs to be replaced. So it's really bringing the data strategy together to drive that frontline impact that can drive the ROI.
Dr. Fahad, let's talk about the Saudi Arabian energy journey in the context of AI. You have obviously a legacy and still very powerful a hydrocarbon, petrochemical set of industries. You're trying to, the national vision involves most certainly that diversification. How do you see these parts coming together, and what role will some of the advanced analytics technologies play in that?
It can be taken in multiple layers here. I think there is a kind of a short term where looking at to know what we didn't know. And this is, using the AI or data analytics and identifying what are the potential, where you are consuming your resources, and identify potential areas. This is one level of identification. Second level of to provide a solution. And providing the solution, it might need, at this stage on the short term, a kind of engineering solution or some research or technology to be deployed. But in the future, it might, the AI could help and give you some kind of new innovative ideas, something that beyond what you have today. Another factor, for example, is about monitoring your emission. Today people, they are using the drone, and people, they can know your emission, and they can predict what you are emission and using the satellite. So this is one area that if you are using it wisely, this is also you can identify and help you to improve your performance, and also looking for what are the source of emission, if any. While in Saudi Arabia, we are gifted, we are the lowest when it comes to the methane emission, but this is something that can help you, can you improve further. Another dimension, which is, I believe it is important, is about improving the efficiency of the network and the infrastructure. I'm sure there are a lot of opportunity to improve. Is it the most efficient? Because most of the system may be built for a long time. So such kind of a tool, analytics, will help again to identify where are the potential area, where are the deficiency, where you need to invest, and also to predict the future demand as well as the future growth. One another dimension that also with the potential we are now taking into consideration, which is beyond just only the data analytics, is about the narrative. And for example, there is now increasing, and today they are talking about the ESG, and they are now adding another S, which is the security. So ESG now, and people now, they are using AI, so they can generate report about you. They can having, access to all kinds of data, and they can create an opinion about you. So do you want to wait for somebody to talk, or you take the advantage and using AI to see how others, they are seeing you, and being proactive and identifying gaps and try to close it. And we see many companies now, they are adopting the same concept as to bring efficiency, accuracy, and also act timely.
Mm-hmm. There's a very part of the conventional wisdom around the growing penetration of AI into the economy is that it displaces a lot of labor. But what I'm hearing is, of course, that there's a huge need for a very digitally literate workforce to actually be able to understand and interpret and manage and make decisions around all of this data. Is this an area where you're seeing a labor shortage, where a knowledge shortage, a talent shortage, and what are you doing to promote that digital, again, AI literacy as it pertains to this crucial area of our energy systems? And I think probably all three of you can speak to that from your experiences. Maybe go either, which way? Do you want to start? Or
yeah,
please, and then we'll go down.
I think in this area you need, in my opinion, capacity as well as the quality of the people or the skills. So you need both. And this is a new area, and now the new generation, I'm sure that they are ahead of our generation from their knowledge, from their access. So this is something that it's already need to be embedded in our education. And today, if you are asking me, is our education system, I think this is globally, not even here, is it addressing all these new challenges, or this is a new trend? I can assure you it is not. So the demand is high from capability as well as the skills. But this is need to be embedded part of the education system, and I'm sure people and especially the young generation, they will be more equipped, okay, to adapt and to have a quick learn,
Yep.
especially for the young generation.
Girish?
Yeah, it's been said, I look at artificial intelligence as augmented intelligence. A simple example I'll give you, when you're boarding a plane today, you have an electronic boarding pass, and the man or the woman helping you enter, it's made the system more efficient. So augmented intelligence, where a maintenance worker is out there and can have data streams or can borrow data from a drone, it is making the job efficient. If there is a future where you don't need a maintenance worker and all of this happens autonomously, I believe that is many years ahead. So it is really driving greater efficiency in energy generation and transmission across sources of energy is how we are seeing it.
Lee?
If we take the new energy as a whole system, you will see that the parties involved are getting getting more and more. And if I say that there will be a virtual grid over the physical grid, so there will be a virtual national grid as well, and to involve more parties as the new energy transportation, the new energy logistics, and also the factories, and also the new energy plants. So we'll connect all the the new energy parties together, and to make the electricity, like the water, to flow to everywhere. And it must be AI to name a price, to give a price in real time, because in China, let's take China for example, the electricity price is not in real time. It's in a day or in the season, the peak or low season, but not in real time. But if we make the electricity in the real time as a price, so there will be flow to where it needs, and this needs like to put more the compatibility. And if you want to make all the digital to make more progress, all the parties need to move forward one step and to make it the whole system.
We do have time for questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask before we continue? Anyone? Yes, sir. We'll get a microphone to you. Just give us 1 second.
Thank you. In countries as large as Saudi Arabia or in China, are you able to wheel the power east to west depending on the time of day or the season of the year?
Yes, it can, but it will have a lot of the consumption during the transportation. I think it's 30 to 40%.
30 to 40%
32%
lost in transmission.
In the transportation between the west to the east.
And with PV cells, are you able to scale it smaller than major factories, than power stations?
Yes.
You can scale it to be on site.
It's in China. At China, it's make more efforts to consumption in a certain distance, not over between the west to the east. Because the consumption is too high.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Did you want to comment also on?
Just only for KSA, I mean, this has already happened today, that the entire KSA already connected. And we used to suffer from the same during the summer and the winter time, because you need to build infrastructure for maybe a couple of hours for 2 to 3 months, where it's the peak. This is really a challenge. But now with the growth that we have, this is helping us, the current infrastructure, to help even to the extent that can start now exporting energy to the neighboring country. And one of the, I think, the latest announcement, which to connect to the east, to the west, one of the elements considered is about transferring the energy, not only the conventional energy, but also green energy or blue energy, if you want to call it, to a country where they have a need and requirement for it.
Typically when we talk about cross-border energy projects and infrastructure, and there's a long history of that when it comes to oil pipelines, even electricity grids, hydropower and so forth, nuclear of course. All of this energy actually does cross borders all over the world, North America, Europe in particular, increasingly in Asia, where there's talk about long distance transmission lines and so forth. Now, in the past, over the past century that we've built out this cross-border energy infrastructure, we haven't been thinking about the data dimension. It's been purely supply, demand, price kind of dynamics. But if you bring in the AI angle, you have to think about data and data privacy. And yet we're moving into a world of data nationalization, fragmentation, data localization, all of these kinds of trends. Are these going to work at cross purposes? If we're going to be having cross-border energy systems in renewable or others, and we need to have obviously an end-to-end ecosystem understanding through sensor networks, AI, predictive analytics around these, how is that going to be reconciled with the data security, data privacy issues that are increasingly the norm today? Any comments or thoughts on that?
I think if you are looking for the AI today, there are a couple of, you can say, challenges or concern that can be addressed. One is about the bias and fairness, because the algorithm built on the data, and if the data sits in a certain way, it will make a decision. It might be, so a kind of auditing of the algorithm, this is something will be very helpful and you can say mitigate or minimize the bias and the fairness. Number two is about, of course, the cyber security, which is now a national as well as a global issue that you will be, open for others. And this is something that it needs to have a very well and collaboration between countries. It's not one country or a company that can deal with. One of the things is also about the compliance to regulations. This is something very important, what you are building and what you are doing. And finally is, I think one of the point that is about accountability to the decision making. Who will be accountable for the artificial intelligence? So there need to be some kind of minimum level of understanding, standardization of the data, about the protocol, etc. This is something that it need to be worked and not to wait like what we have today. There are many standards or many differentiation and make us fragmented when it comes to the infrastructure. I think this is an area, if we are working together collectively, it will be helping each other.
Right. Girish, surely this is a huge concern with your customers.
It is, I'll answer it in two different fronts. Every enterprise has a chief information security officer today. I believe that job description is going to change with AI. It's going to become the chief trust officer. And where today's chief information security officer is more worried about bad actors attacking your enterprise, the chief trust officer has to pay attention to what external data is coming into the enterprise and what data is leaking outside of the enterprise. The way we are deploying our systems, customers' data is customers' data. It stays internal and doesn't go out. When you apply AI to data, there's something called hallucinations, which is inaccurate data. The challenge with ChatGPT is it will give you an answer. It will always give you an answer. The answer could be garbage. So when you are running video games, it's okay, garbage answers. If you are running energy transmission systems, that could be disastrous, right? So this is an area of much attention, and how do you manage that?
But like you've said at the beginning in your first comment, the important is it's not about Gen AI, but actually about fact-based decision, predictive analytics.
Data foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
How about in China?
Firstly, I think it's very challenging in China for this topic, but I still think it's have a great opportunity. As you all know, that Apple just released a new carbon neutral watch recently, right? So if you divide it into specifically, you can see that 70% of the carbon reduction are coming from the supply chain, from the new energy plants building on the factories. So Apple supply chain must be cross-border in China, Vietnam,
Of course.
United States.
True.
So if there's no application to collect the data, so how can you make a carbon neutral watch
That's a great
to make
point.
it new? So
Great point.
I think that there will be very good opportunity there. So because the product itself is cross-border. So if you see every product as a carbon neutral product, they will be definitely cross the border. That's my opinion.
There was another session here on AI for good and AI for humanity, but this is actually just as important
Yes.
as whatever they were talking about in that session. It might be happening at the same time. So we have time for either just one more question or, please. And then we'll have final comments in response to the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very, very well understood. On a plant level, we have evolved, from manual to digital control systems, now to AI. So AI is going to be building a platform. The challenge is if you keep it within a certain plant, is manageable. When you get into different plants, connectivity on an AI platform, you're going to have the incompatibility here. I mean, you have the issue with and I fully agree with the cybersecurity issue, the threats, the data privacy. But there is another dimension, because if the AI now having also, let's say, giving decisions to move certain equipment here and there, you're going to also end up with the legal issues. The manufacturer will say, well, somebody did something with this equipment and it failed, and you're going to have another dimension, which is, the claims, the consequential damages that could potentially happen. Plants do have interruptions and will have issues related to somebody moved this or somebody did this. And I think that's another dimension that is probably not being talked about. As this system evolve and become wider, that becomes a more complex issue too.
Let's respond to the gentleman's question, and this can also be our final comments.
I'll give you a short answer, and maybe after the session I'll give you the longer answer. I believe the benefit of a co-pilot is very useful, because the co-pilot is not making the decision for you. It is giving you options, it is giving you scenarios, right? So I think for the foreseeable future, with cross data sources, leveraging co-pilot is very beneficial. The day of autonomous is, I think, years away. But maybe we can talk offline after this.
Good point.
Just only, I already stressed on the thinking about accountability. I mean, who will be accountable for the decision? And this is something need to be developed. But I can assure you that I remember a couple of years that they are talking about expert system where you put a knowledge about, how to react or how to, especially in the plant environment, to a certain decision need to be made. Now we are talking about AI, which is algorithm based on the data, based on history, based on huge amount of data. I can assure you that it will work in parallel until people, especially where places there is a safety, is a major concern. As you said, if it's a game, it is finished in the game. But if this is a plant or a chemical plant, or will be something dangerous, impacting the people working or your surrounding, I can assure it will work in parallel until people fully confident to transfer to the full AI.
The final word.
Yes. From my opinion, it's because the new energy makes the parties involved more and more. It's far beyond that people can make the decisions. So there's definitely need to, AI and all the digitalized to come into the system to make all the data to be collected and to be calculated in a very good way. But it's still a very long way to go. How to say? Let me put this very, let's put in the realistic way in a second. When we do the generation plans developed in China, now, each province has their own electricity bills, and now the bills are being calculated by human. It's hard to imagination. So we are open to with some companies to develop the OCRs to calculate the bills first. So I think within the AI is still a long way to go, and we have to embrace it. Thanks.
Amazing. So remember, everyone, this session was not about the energy revolution. It was about the AI revolution. But I think we can agree that, first of all, this has to be one of the most important applications of AI is towards the energy revolution. And I think that all three of you have painted a very convincing case as to how that can unfold, full of, even if it's in the earliest stages, the progress is remarkable, the promise is enormous, and the solutions are really at hand, and the three of you really represent the cutting edge of implementing them. So please, everyone, if you can join me in thanking our distinguished panelists, Dr. Fahad, Girish, Lee. Thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. Thank you, everyone.